May 2021 marks 3 years since Once Upon a Time ended, yet it still is in my head rent-free. That show has seen me through every major life event, and despite how weird and slightly awful the later seasons got, it is still my all-time favourite show. I refuse to see flaws in Once Upon a Time. So it's safe to say that I'm keeping a close eye on Once Upon a Time creators' careers, especially because their new show seems like Once Upon a Time's slightly younger brother. It's basically like a spin-off, so much so that people thought Once Upon a Time was being rebooted. If you haven't seen my last video breaking down the announcement, basically Once Upon a Time creators Adam and Eddie are producing the show, and Once Upon a Time writer Hales has penned the show. It's called Epic and it's a romantic anthology and plans to reinvent fairy tales for a new audience. From the premise you can see that Once Upon a Time was most likely the inspiration for this new show. The show is meant to be exploring love in fairy tales, and since it's an anthology, it'll most likely have a new love story every episode or season. When you think of an anthology series, you think of American Horror Story, or a show that changes its cast or story every season. But an anthology series can be something as simple as Doctor Who, something that keeps the main characters the same but changes the setting and story every episode or season, which I feel like from the casting announcements that we're going to talk about is what the show is, rather than resetting each season. And I know Adam and Eddie haven't penned this, they're just producing. It's Hales who is writing, but it doesn't seem like their style to have a show that resets and reboots. They're very character-driven showrunners. I don't think they would be too interested in developing characters and then waving goodbye to them every so often. It's very much in their style to keep with characters and building them until it's too complicated and everything's gone haywire. Now for the casting announcement, we've got 4 cast members who I assume are the main cast. As our starring role, we have Sarah Hyland from Modern Family, who is playing Princess Rose. She's described as a very stereotypical princess who's set to marry a prince, but is getting cold feet. And from that already, I can sort of picture the pilot being centered around her and her getting cold feet, and then maybe at the last minute, running away from her wedding and then encountering all the characters she comes along and exploring all the different kinds of love as she reflects on her own love. Her on-screen love interest is Prince Philippe, played by Game of Thrones star Toby Sebastian. We also have Brittany O'Grady co-starring as Luna, a cynical princess who got her heart broken in the past. Again, another way of exploring the love in fairy tales, perhaps showing that true love isn't real, which would be a very, very stark contrast to Once Upon a Time, which so I prefer to go along those lines of love can be a mixture of things and is not just one set person for life, Once Upon a Time was. I think it'd be a lot more interesting if they explored the different depths of love. And then we have Eleanor Thanica, who's playing a mysterious and playful seer, which is a bit like what Rumpelstiltskin was Once Upon a Time, is an all-seeing, all-knowing, magical entity, sort of like a fortune teller who can see the future and the past in some cases. And the description of mysterious sort of hints to me that they're going to be an anti-hero of some sorts, especially with the history of an all-seeing entity like Rumpel being the main villain of Once Upon a Time. I feel like it gives plenty of opportunities for the character to play both sides and manipulate the other characters. But on a whole, what makes the show stand out from Once Upon a Time is that it doesn't seem to be based off fairy tales, at least not directly. When you search up Princess Rose, the only history of an existing character I can see is the original fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, Aurora, or a lullaby about a Princess Rose, but there's not a lot there, especially not enough for them to base a TV show around her. So from what I gather, these are original characters that are maybe loosely based off fairy tales and sort of taking those tropes and stereotypes and blending them in to one and then playing on them. Because if they just played on fairy tales and literature and Disney movies like Once Upon a Time did, they would be in danger of retreading old ground, especially because the creator of this show is the Once Upon a Time writer, and Once Upon a Time creators are so heavily involved, you do run the risk of it just being a rehash of the same story. But from what we've seen, I'm very intrigued by the show. I was very worried that it was just going to be Once Upon a Time copy, but it does seem like they're trying something new. I do think that the only reason they are commissioning this is because ABC saw how popular Once Upon a Time was in its heyday, and they basically said to Adam and Eddie and Hales, this worked well. Can you replicate this same sort of energy and feels in a new show for the 2020s? Especially because Adam and Eddie have tried to do new things with ABC with Dead of Summer, and it got cancelled after a season. But Adam and Eddie did get a producing deal with ABC, which the show is a part of. They signed an exclusivity deal in 2018, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the first shows that they're doing with the deal, although it is not set for a 2021 fall release. Most likely the pilot will be filmed this autumn, but will come out mid-2022 if ABC picks it up. But because it got such big names involved in the cast and in the crew, I do think it's likely that ABC is going to jump at the chance to commission this. I'm really intrigued. I'm really excited to watch it, especially if they do it well. I'm, holding out hope. This has the potential to be really, really interesting. It has the potential to really look at fairy tale tropes, especially surrounding, that true love and how we're promised you will find a special someone, and just sort of explore how that has corrupted the idea of a princess and a prince in society, and it's too romanticized in life, and how you can be happy without it. I hope it goes down that route and not just be like, this is true love, everyone has a true love, but it's, it's different for everyone. I hope it really explores all different kinds of love. Like Once Upon a Time touched on slightly with Emma and Henry having true love kiss, but didn't go deep enough with it. And if you like the Once Upon a Time content, I am officially rebooting my love for Once Upon a Time this year, and I'm starting a Once Upon a Time book club. If you didn't know, which I'm assuming a lot of people don't because nobody has read them, Once Upon a Time has about 6 tie-in novels and comics from around season 1 to season 3 that give a whole new look at the world, and hardly anybody in the fandom has read them. Even the biggest of fans haven't touched these books. So I'm going to relive my Once Upon a Time glory days, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to read all of them. I'm starting with Once Upon a Time, The Shadow Queen. It's a Marvel comic all about Regina and her history with the Huntsman. And honestly, it's just gonna be nice to go back and relive these stories and experience new Once Upon a Time content for the first time. So I will be doing a maybe monthly Once Upon a Time book club, starting with this one for the next few months. We're doing a video on each book. So subscribe to see them, keep your eye on the channel, and I'll see you very soon.